Oh, amazing.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. We just got out of our tornado warning, so all is well.
Amazing.
The skies are returning, so here we are.
Excellent.
We had some lights flickering there, so I wasn't sure, but we're good now.
I feel like I see more of your daughter than I see of you.
She lives in New York. I live in Virginia, but I do try to get up there as much as possible. She is home right now, though. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, she's with you.
Yes, she's been home
Awesome.
for about 5 weeks now. She came home for spring break, and an hour into her train ride, school was canceled. So she hadn't brought her books. She hadn't brought any stuff, and she had to rebuy her books just to be able to do school.
Oh, I was like, well, that's a good excuse. Maybe she wouldn't have to do it.
No, college doesn't let you have that excuse. Yeah.
So tell everybody about your latest book. I want to know everything about it.
Okay, great. My newest book, which comes out May 5th, is my first about a real life woman. It is called The First Emma. And Emma was married to a tycoon husband who was killed in a crime of the century murder by one of his two mistresses, both of whom were also named Emma. And what's interesting is both mistresses were nurses to Emma, the wife, because she had been in a car accident 4 years prior and spent much of her time in a wheelchair. After her husband's death, Emma, the wife, became CEO of his brewing empire during Prohibition, no less, and successfully carried it through that. So in my book, she tells her story to a young teetotaler, and what emerges is a tale of love, war, resilience, beer, and the power of women.
I mean, that's a great, excellent pitch.
Thanks. I worked on memorizing that last night.
Oh, good job. And that's it's a real story. It's based on a true story.
It's based on a real life woman. I'm a fourth generation San Antonian, and so this brewery was in San Antonio. And all my life growing up, I would drive by this magnificent building that was derelict. And several years ago, some developers got a hold of it and turned the whole area into just it's a showpiece. It's the best part of San Antonio now. But the brewery itself was turned into Hotel Emma, which was named by Condé Nast as one of the best new hotels in the world. And it's spectacular. So I was thinking, who is the Emma that has this amazing place named after her? And I found her story and I said, oh my gosh, people in San Antonio don't even know who she is. And yet she's amazing. So I set out to write her story.
Wow. Well, before this happened, were you planning on doing a big event at the Hotel Emma?
We've been talking about it for the fall. I don't have a date set yet, and now it's just crazy. I hope to get back out there. I try to get back to my hometown about once a year, but they've invited me to come do an event.
Isn't it amazing how many stories there are that we just don't know about? That's what's so great about authors like you, like shining the light on these stories, and like otherwise we wouldn't even know. It's just crazy.
I know. And I love these little known ones. And I love when other authors do it too. And I just think a story of a woman in a wheelchair who was CEO of a brewery during Prohibition in the early 1900s, it just has all the things to be inspiring that, you know, if somebody can overcome those odds, we can overcome anything. So I really think more than anything, it's a book about resilience, which we need.
Totally. It sounds like a movie. It sounds like I can see it, you know?
I'd be okay with that.
That's awesome. What was your process like writing it? How long did it take to write and research and everything?
Books are in my head for about 2 years before they really come to fruition. And so my research process was difficult because she's so little known that there's almost no records about her. And I had an interview with the hotel's historian, and I was so excited to get more information because it had been so hard to find it out. And by the end of our conversation, he said, you are now the world's foremost expert on Emma Kaler, because I knew everything he knew already and more. So that was challenging because the book I'm working on right now is a very well-known subject and I'm drowning in research. So this was completely opposite, to take any nugget of research that I could find and put it into the book. And I had to make some educated guesses. For example, Otto and Emma didn't have any children, and I have no idea if that was by choice or because they weren't able to. So I had to make the educated guess that in that time period, it was probably not by choice. So I have a storyline in there about her struggle with infertility, because I think that's probably a reasonable assumption to make. So there were a number of places where I had to really fill in gaps.
And what is your, I love that little segue into your latest book. What are you working on now?
My newest book is called Come Fly With Me, and it is a fictional story of two Pan Am flight attendants in the early 1960s jet set era. And I've got tons of research about Pan Am. I'm really having to look at it with blinders because it goes back to the early 30s and later on. So I'm researching like this. If it's not in the 60s, I don't want to know it. But I have been it's been so great because it's hard to write in this environment right now. But I've been doing a whole bunch of hours of interviews on the phone with former Pan Am flight attendants who are in their 80s and 90s. Wow. And there's not one conversation that's lasted less than 2 hours. And I am just taking copious notes, getting their stories, and I'm so excited. It's completely changing the course of the book. I'm going to really have to start from scratch, to be honest.
If you need help, I can teach you how to record it and then transcribe it, because that might save you a lot of time. You might have to, I don't know.
I'm very old fashioned. I write on Word and I take handwritten notes, but I'm slowly coming into the 21st century.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's so exciting. So what number book will the next book be?
That will be number 6.
Wow. And what made you start writing books to begin with?
In school, I was really bullied, and so I spent most of recesses in the library, and I read all the Nancy Drews, Trixie Beldens, Bobbsey twins, and it was way pre-internet, so you were going to have no communication with these authors, and they saved me. These authors, these names on these books who created these books saved me from bullying. And I thought at age 12, I want to do that someday. I want, it's not great heroic work or anything, but if it pulls somebody out of what they're going through, or if it inspires them, or if it entertains them, then that's what I want to do. So I wanted to do it ever since then. I got a lot of support from my mom and my husband because I didn't believe in myself, and they did for me.
I think it's absolutely heroic to dedicate your life to writing stories designed to help other people. I mean, what if that's selfless? I mean, that's amazing. So.
Well, thanks. I enjoy it. I'm a voracious reader, so I'm always a reader first, and I just am so grateful to authors, and I still pinch myself that I'm one of them, and that I'm friends with them. That never gets old.
Wow. Why do you know why you were bullied? Do you ever get back in touch with any of the people, or I feel like if I were you, all successful and whatever, I'd want to go back and just make a.
That was a motivating force for a little while back when my first manuscript, my first book was just a manuscript. There was a little driving force that kind of want to be I want to do this to show them that I did something. And I was getting nowhere. I was just getting rejection after rejection. And I finally realized that's a really wrong approach. Not like it was my own, it wasn't the driving force, but it was in there. That's pretty natural. I had to really detach myself from that and say, that is not the purpose. If I have something to say, I need to say it for all the right reasons. And it's literally the day after I just made that detachment in my head, everything started happening. And so I really needed to get out of my own prideful way of that and do that. But the reason I was bullied is I had long stringy hair. I had vampire teeth is what they called it, big Coke bottle glasses, and kids are just mean. It can be mean if you look different, and I looked different. So that was really the crux of it. It's pretty easy to be mean, I guess.
Oh, kids can be terrible. I mean, grown-ups can be terrible, but anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully they grow out of it.
Hopefully they grow out of it. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice to aspiring authors? Just wondering. Now I'm asking everybody today.
Yes. The number one thing is just be a great reader, especially in whatever genre you're trying to write. Read a lot in that genre. I think that's going to be even better than any craft book because you'll understand what works. But the other part of that is don't compare your work to the finished process, because by the time a book has come to publication, it has been through all of your own edits. Mine tend to go through 15 to 20 drafts just on my own. Then it's going to go to your agent, your editor, your developmental editor, your copy editor, your proofreader, your beta readers. By the time it is finally done, there have been so many hands in it. And so if you're looking at your work and your first draft and trying to compare it to finished work, you're going to be dejected, and that's not fair to yourself. So just understand how many hands have been in it by the end product.
I love that. Wow. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for coming on today. And I'm glad the tornado has passed, and we got this in. The rain seems to be lifting here too. So
good.
Anyway,
good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.